I stood on the second floor of the studio building, peering down through the glass like a ghost in my own life. Below me, my wife Chloe lay in another man's arms, draped in a thin slip dress that left little to the imagination. The man, Caleb Hayes, held a camera in one hand, whispering something in her ear that made them both laugh. I knew him. Everyone in the industry did. Up-and-coming photographer. Big on Instagram. Loved by influencers. My hands gripped the wooden railing so tight the cheap pine creaked beneath my fingers. Chloe said something, and Caleb laughed again. Her smile, God, that smile. The same one I fell in love with 8 years ago. A voice cut through my daze. Sir, this mop bucket needs new water. I blinked, dragged back to reality. I owned a studio nearby, had just signed the lease for this upper floor to expand the business. Construction was still underway, so I'd been checking in daily. But today I'd walked straight into my worst nightmare. I forced my tone steady. That light fixture needs adjusting, I said to the contractor, as if I hadn't just watched my wife melt into another man's embrace. My voice sounded calm, too calm, because if I let it crack, I knew I'd storm downstairs and put my hands around Caleb's throat. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Hey babe, meeting up with the girls for some shopping. Might be home late. I stared at her message, my thumb hovering over the screen before typing, okay, stay safe. Take an Uber. When I slipped my phone back into my pocket, I looked down again. Caleb had changed angles, now crouched low, capturing a close-up. Chloe posed for him, slow and soft, like this was something she'd done 100 times before. I didn't look away this time. I couldn't. I needed to see exactly how many versions of seductive my wife knew. I remembered the first time I saw her, 8 years ago, rain pouring outside as she rushed into my studio for a job interview. Her dress was soaked at the hem, but she smiled through it, eyes bright, talking about how much she loved photography. That spark in her reminded me of myself back when passion mattered more than money. We fell in love, got married. She left her job to build our life together while I built the business. I made sure she never worried about a single thing. Bills, stress, work, it was all on me. I thought that was love, until today. By the time dusk settled over the city, I'd managed to hold myself together. On the drive home, I stopped at a flower shop. Roses, I told the clerk. 33 of them. She smiled, assuming the best. Anniversary? I forced one back. No, just a surprise. When I got home, the house was dark. I arranged the roses on the table, their scent filling the empty room. I sat down, staring at nothing until I heard the front door unlock. Honey, I'm home. Chloe's voice sweet, effortless. Oh, you're back early. I gestured toward the flowers. For you. Her face lit up with surprise. They're beautiful. What's the occasion? Nothing, I said softly. Just felt like it. She bent to smell them, smiling again. Oh, I bought you a new shirt today. Here, try it on. She slipped it over my shoulders, her fingers grazing my skin, gentle and familiar. Perfect, she said. I looked at myself in the mirror. White shirt, black slacks, calm expression. The picture of composure. It's nice, I murmured. So where did you go today? I asked casually. Oh, just the Galleria with Mandy, she said brightly, launching into a bubbly story about shopping and bubble tea. I listened, nodding, every word cutting a little deeper. When she smiled, I reached out and stroked her hair, a habit of mine. But as my fingers brushed through it, I froze. I remembered Caleb doing the same thing earlier that afternoon, his hand tenderly moving through those same strands. That night I didn't sleep, not even for a second. It was 3 a.m. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft rhythm of Chloe's breathing beside me. Moonlight slipped through a crack in the curtains, painting silver lines across her face. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, like a child. I remembered when we first moved in together, she was a restless sleeper back then, always kicking the blanket off, twisting and turning until I'd get up in the middle of the night just to cover her again. Now she barely moved. Somewhere along the line, that habit disappeared. I couldn't help but wonder what else had changed without me noticing. Quietly, I slid out of bed and went to my office. The glow from my laptop cut through the darkness as I typed his name, Caleb Hayes. It didn't take long. His website was polished, filled with intimate, sensual portraits that looked like art and temptation rolled into one. I couldn't deny it. The man had talent. His lighting, his composition, all precise, deliberate. But the more I scrolled, the more I saw the cracks. In the comments, a woman joked, "Caleb, will my husband be mad if he finds out I came for a shoot?" His reply, "Don't worry. No one has to know." Another one said, "I'm too shy for a sexy shoot." He wrote back, "Send me a private message. We'll make you comfortable." I took screenshots. Every one of them. Then I dug deeper. That's when I found his second Instagram account, more personal, more raw. Behind-the-scenes videos that looked harmless to the public eye, but to me they were something else entirely. He'd stand behind women, whispering directions, brushing their hair from their faces under the pretense of finding the perfect angle. His followers flooded the comments with hearts and praise, calling him a gentleman, an artist. But I saw through it. He wasn't creating art. He was manufacturing intimacy, and he knew exactly how to sell it. A few old articles confirmed my suspicions. Whispers of affairs with married clients. Buried stories silenced by lawyers. Caleb Hayes wasn't just charming. He was dangerous. By the time I looked at the clock, it was nearly 5. Dawn was only an hour away, but I knew there was no sleep left in me. I sent a message to my assistant. "Kevin, do a deep dive on Caleb Hayes. Everything you can find, especially his studio bookings for the last few months." His reply came within seconds. "On it, boss." I lit a cigarette, watching the smoke twist in the dark. It looked exactly like how I felt. Quiet chaos. I needed proof, and until I had it, I had to keep pretending everything was fine. The next morning, Chloe's laughter filled the kitchen, light and easy. "It's because I worry about you," she teased, flashing that soft, practiced smile. "I'm your wife. Who else should take care of you?" I looked at her for a long moment before saying, almost casually, "Business has been great lately. Why don't you come back to the studio? Help out again, like old times." For just a second, barely a flicker, her face froze. Then she smiled again. "Oh no, I'm not really built for that 9-to-5 grind. And besides, Kevin's doing great. You don't need me." I nodded slowly. "True, but if you're bored, maybe you could pick up photography again." This time her fingers trembled. She almost dropped her glass. "I lost interest in that a long time ago," she said, eyes fixed on her plate. "I'm happy being a homemaker." "Is that so?" I murmured. "I remember you used to love it." "That was years ago," she said quietly, collecting the dishes. "People change, you know." I didn't answer. I just watched her walk away and thought, yes, people do change. From the bright-eyed girl who loved art, to a woman who now lived behind carefully woven lies. The next day at the studio, I overheard 2 of my employees whispering near the break room. "Have you heard of Caleb Hayes? The boudoir photographer on Instagram?" "Of course. He's gorgeous. My friend said he's seeing another married woman." "Seriously? Who?" "Some rich guy's wife. Stunning, apparently." Their voices dropped the moment I walked past. I didn't say a word, just kept moving, coffee in hand, my pulse steady, but my mind racing. Back in my office, I opened Caleb's booking page. There it was, an appointment at 2 p.m. today, under Chloe's name. I clicked over to the live feed from the camera I'd installed across the street. And there she was. Right on time. She looked elegant in a beige dress as she walked in. But minutes later, on that studio monitor, she reappeared in black lace. Caleb said something to her, grinning. She laughed, pretending to be shy, then lifted her eyes, her expression shifting into something practiced. Something I hadn't seen in years. I closed the laptop and took a long breath. Not yet, it wasn't time. Not until I had every last piece of proof. That evening, she walked through the door like nothing had happened. "Landon, you're home early," she said, slipping off her heels. "Yeah," I replied evenly. "Work wrapped up early." "Where were you?" "I took Mandy to the spa," she said lightly, fluffing her hair. She's been so down after her breakup. I just wanted to cheer her up. I smiled faintly. That's thoughtful. But inside, I was already counting the cracks forming in her story. I walked up to her and leaned in close, breathing her in. "New perfume," I said quietly. Her body went stiff. "Oh, yeah. I saw it at the mall today and loved the scent, so I bought it." "It's nice," I said evenly. "How much was it?" "I'll get you another bottle." She hesitated. "It wasn't too expensive. Just a couple $100. I murmured. "Is that the new one from YSL?" She smiled nervously. "Yeah, I think so." I tilted my head. "Funny. Caleb's studio smells exactly like that." The words landed like a knife. Her purse slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a dull thud. What did you just say?" she whispered. "I said my new office is right upstairs from his," I replied, crouching to pick up her bag. That scent lingers down the hall. Hard to miss. The color drained from her face. "Landon, I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked, voice low. "Why you've been sneaking around doing boudoir shoots behind my back, or why you've been lying to my face every single day." She lunged forward, wrapping her arms around my waist, her words tumbling out between sobs. "I'm sorry, Landon, I was wrong. I just wanted a few photos as a keepsake, that's all." I laughed, a cold, hollow sound that didn't feel like it came from me. "A keepsake? You could have asked me. I'm a photographer, remember?" "I wanted to surprise you," she cried. "You've been so busy lately." "So you went to Caleb instead?" I grabbed her wrist, my patience splintering. "Tell me, did it feel good posing in his arms?" Her whole body trembled. You saw?" "I saw plenty," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Every touch, every look, every fake flirty smile. I saw it all." Her composure broke completely. She crumpled to the floor, sobbing. "Please, Landon. I was wrong. I swear I'll never see him again. Please forgive me." I stared down at her, my face like stone. "Do you really think you deserve forgiveness?" "It was Caleb," she insisted through tears. He kept hitting on me. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have cheated?" I snapped. "So it's his fault now?" "Then tell me, why'd you go back?" "Again and again?" She just wept harder. I pulled a folder from my jacket and tossed it onto the floor. "Those are divorce papers." "Sign them." I turned to leave, but her scream tore through the air. "No, Landon, please don't go. You can yell at me, hit me, hate me, just don't leave me." I kept walking. "Let go." She grabbed my shirt, knuckles white. "Not until you forgive me." I stopped and turned back to her, every word sharp and deliberate. "Do you know what I hate most in this world, Chloe?" She looked up, mascara streaked down her cheeks. "I hate being lied to," I said. "You can fall out of love with me. That's life. But don't you dare lie to me while pretending everything's fine. For 2 months, you've come home and played the part of a perfect wife. Aren't you tired?" "It wasn't an act," she sobbed. "I love you, Landon. I made a mistake." "Enough," I said quietly. "Let go. Let's end this cleanly." "No," she begged. "Please." "Just one more chance. I'll do anything." "Please don't throw me away." I looked at her for a long moment. The woman kneeling in front of me was once the center of my world. I'd given her everything, my time, my trust, my heart, and this was what I got in return. "Fine," I said finally. Her eyes lit up, a flicker of hope breaking through the tears. "Really?" "I'll give you 3 days," I said. "If after that you still believe you were wrong, if you still think this marriage means something, then we'll start over." "I know I was wrong right now," she pleaded. "Then use those 3 days to decide what really matters to you," I said quietly. "Me or Caleb Hayes." And then I walked out, her cries echoing behind me. "Landon, I love you. I swear I'll never see him again." But I didn't look back, because those 3 days weren't for her. They were for me. After I left, I checked into a hotel across town. The bed felt too clean, too still, but for the first time in weeks, I felt calm, unnaturally calm. Maybe I'd buried my emotions so deep they'd finally gone numb. I opened my phone, scrolling through the evidence I'd gathered. Photos, screenshots, timestamps. A month ago, Caleb posted a picture of a coffee cup with the caption, "Interesting people always find each other." The comments were full of speculation, fans teasing him about a new muse. The cup came from a tiny artisan cafe. Chloe's favorite. I scrolled further. May 20th, she told me she was shopping, but security footage said otherwise. She was at Caleb's studio for 4 hours. Early June, another event. A gallery opening. There they were in the corner, laughing like no one else existed. I'd saved everything. Then I played the last file, a recording from the hidden mic in his studio. "Does your husband know you come here to see me?" Caleb's voice smooth and low. "He's busy with the new expansion," Chloe replied playfully. "He doesn't have time to worry about me." He chuckled. "So if you don't tell him, how would he ever know?" And then his voice dropped, almost a whisper. "Does he even know how hot you are?" I sat there, the city lights flickering against the window, and finally let the silence swallow me whole. Caleb leaned in close, his breath brushing her ear. "I bet he's never seen you look this sexy," he whispered. She giggled softly, tapping his chest. "Stop it," she purred, but she didn't pull away. That was enough. I stopped the video before rage swallowed me whole. My phone buzzed. "Kevin, got it. Caleb's planning a major expansion. He's trying to franchise his studio. Investors lined up. Final meeting next week?" I typed back. "Set up a meeting with those investors. I want to talk to them." "Done," he replied. "Want me to dig up his old scandals?" "I'm hearing whispers." "No need," I wrote. "I'm not destroying him with rumors. I'm doing it with the truth." I set the phone down and walked to the window. The city stretched before me, alive, shimmering, beautiful. Once upon a time, I wanted Chloe to have all this. I wanted her to live like a queen. Now, I just wanted her to understand what betrayal costs. By morning, I was already making calls. Quiet ones and to people who mattered. Industry friends. Connections that opened doors. "Dinner tomorrow," I told them. "There are a few things I want to discuss." When the president of the National Photographers Association confirmed he'd be there, I smiled. Perfect. Later, I pulled up the live feed from Caleb's studio. He was mid-shoot with another woman. Same sultry poses, same sugary charm. He really was predictable. I almost laughed. Then Chloe appeared on screen. She looked wrecked. Red eyes, trembling lips, a shadow of herself. Caleb dismissed everyone instantly. "What's wrong, baby? You look like you've been crying for days." "He knows everything," she sobbed. "What am I going to do?" "Don't be afraid," he said, wrapping her up in that false comfort. "I'm here for you. I'll take care of you." "You mean that?" "Of course. When my franchise launches, I'll make you the boss. You'll have a better life than the one you have with him." And there it was, her tears melting into a smile. "You're not just saying that?" "When have I ever lied to you?" He crooned. "He gave you 3 days, right? Perfect. In 3 days, we'll be together for real. Europe, anywhere you want. He hates flying anyway." She fell into his arms. "You're so good to me." I shut the monitor, a smirk curling on my lips. Everything was unfolding exactly as I planned. That afternoon, I went to the bank. "Mr. Carter, are you sure you want to freeze all joint accounts?" The manager asked, his tone cautious. "Yes," I said evenly. "Freeze everything except my business account. That includes my wife's card." He hesitated. "May I ask the reason?" "Marital asset division. Pending divorce. Next stop, my lawyer's office." He scanned the file, eyes widening. "Landon, this is airtight. If she contests it, we can make sure she walks away with nothing." "We're not going to court," I said. He frowned. "Then what's this really about?" "I need a statement drawn up. It'll say I'm giving up all marital assets and except one." "And what's that?" "My studio." He blinked. "Landon, that means she gets everything. The house, cars, savings, millions." "I know," I said quietly. "Do it anyway." By the time I walked out, night had fallen. A text lit up my screen. "Investors confirmed. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. The grill room. Perfect." Phase 1 was ready to begin. The next day, I walked into that restaurant calm and composed. The private room buzzed with conversation. Powerful men, respected names. They greeted me warmly. "Sorry to keep you waiting," I said, smiling. After a few pleasantries, I went straight to business. "I asked you here to talk about a man named Caleb Ace." "The boudoir photographer on Instagram?" one of them asked. "That's the one," I said. "I hear he's looking to franchise. Some of you may have already seen his proposal." A few nodded. "Then I suggest you reconsider," I said, pulling a file from my briefcase. "This man isn't what he pretends to be." They exchanged glances. "What do you mean?" I slid the folder across the table. "See for yourselves." As they opened it, silence fell, followed by sharp, shocked breaths. "Is he seducing married clients?" one muttered. "He's all over them," another spat. "And he wants to open studios?" "He's a disgrace." I waited for their outrage to boil over, then leaned forward. "It gets worse," I said quietly. "He's been using those photos to blackmail them." The room erupted. One of them slammed a fist on the table. "That son of a—" And that's when I knew the trap had sprung. I set the file down and watched the room go quiet, too quiet. "Someone needs to teach him a lesson," I said, voice steady, almost gentle. "Gentlemen, please." They leaned in. I told them I'd already filed a formal complaint with the National Photographers Association. The president there, a man whose handshake and reputation carried weight, spoke up with a hard edge. "We will not let a predator stain our profession. I'll call an emergency meeting and move to revoke his membership." Relief flickered across the table, but I wasn't finished. "One more thing," I said. "Share this. Spread it wide. Let everyone know who he really is." They agreed without hesitation. Messages would go out, reputations reconsidered, bookings canceled. I raised my glass to them, a small, cold toast. "Thank you," I said. By the time I left, daylight still clung to the edges of the city. My phone blew up the minute I stepped onto the sidewalk. Headlines, whispers, outrage. Famous photographer embroiled in scandal. Boudoir predator exposed. The story moved faster than I could have asked for. I texted Kevin, "Keep an eye on his studio. Tell me the second anything happens." It didn't take long. "Clients are flooding his lobby asking for refunds," Kevin wrote. "3 investors have pulled out." Perfect. Phase 1, complete. Now I waited for panic to do the rest. I knew desperation would drive him somewhere, anywhere to stop the collapse. He would look for help. He would look for Chloe. And Chloe, I let myself smile without humor. She was about to learn what kind of man she'd trusted. Sure enough, the call came that evening. Caleb's voice was brittle, stripped of arrogance. "Mr. Carter, can we talk?" he pleaded. I told him to come to my studio. When he arrived, his face had the color drained from it. He tried to explain, misunderstanding, professionalism. She approached me. I cut him off and played a clip, him promising Chloe Europe, promising a life built on lies. His bravado evaporated. He begged for mercy, money, favors, anything to stop the bleeding. He dropped to his knees and promised he'd stop, that he'd do anything. I looked at him like he was nothing more than a cheap prop in his own show. "Do you deserve a career?" I asked. He grabbed at my leg. "Please don't ruin me." I kicked him away. Desperation turned to threat. "If I go down, I'll take you with me," he snarled. "I have photos of your wife." Before he could finish, I told him how I'd gotten his original files. I'd hacked his server days ago. The terror in his eyes was instant and pure. I told him I had proof, photos, recordings, evidence of blackmail. His voice collapsed into a whisper. "Please, don't call the police." "That answer would depend on him," I said. I let him up slowly. "Tomorrow," I told him, "you will stand before everyone and confess every lie, every manipulation. If you don't, I hand everything to the LAPD." He balked. "You want to ruin me?" he gasped. "Yes," I said flatly. "I want to ruin you." And then, because even ruin can be merciful, I offered him a way out. Confess, leave the city, never come back. He agreed at last, voice small and broken. As I turned to leave, I saw Chloe in the doorway, her face a map of shock and something worse. The slow, dawning realization that the world she'd been building with him was collapsing in front of her. Her face went paper white. "Landon," she breathed, voice trembling like a leaf. I didn't look at her. I walked past, out into the cool night, and her scream followed me. "Caleb, you bastard, you lied to me!" A bitter smile ghosted across my lips. Perfect. Phase 2 was done. Now I could sit back and watch the two of them tear each other apart. The next day, Caleb kept his promise. He stood at a podium under a harsh parade of flashbulbs and read from a script that tasted like confession and defeat. "Yes, I used my position to seduce married women," he said, voice hollow, apologizing to strangers on camera while the viewer count climbed into the millions. Online, people poured outrage into the comments. Shock, disgust, calls to ban him forever. By evening, he had vanished. The city shut his studio down, his bank accounts frozen, his name dragged through every feed. He went from celebrated to pariah overnight. I waited for one more performance. The bell rang. Chloe stood on my doorstep, eyes swollen, barely recognizable. "Landon," she said, voice small. "Can I come in?" She folded into the sofa like a wounded thing and begged, sincere, frantic, desperate, to begin again, to be forgiven. I listened. Her apologies felt thin in my mouth. "Do you think saying sorry erases what happened?" I asked. She fell silent, then pleaded for another chance, promising anything. My heart had already iced over. I reminded her of the 3 days I'd given her, how she'd spent them in Caleb's arms, and she had nothing to say. "You think I don't know?" I said softly. "I saw everything. I could have exposed it all. I chose not to." Her body went rigid. Color fled her face. "Why?" she asked, voice breaking. I laughed, a sound that wasn't mine. "So you could watch him show himself for what he really is," I said. She collapsed into sobs. "I'm sorry. I know I was wrong." "It's too late," I told her. "Did you sign the papers?" "No!" she cried, grabbing my legs, clinging. "I don't want a divorce. I'll do anything." I surprised her. "Fine, one last chance." Her eyes lit like a struck match. "Really?" she whispered. "Go to the airport. Make a scene. Make sure Caleb's downfall is a spectacle. And I want to be there." He was passing through security when we reached him, suitcase in hand, plans to leave. Chloe called his name, voice flat and cold. He turned and the color drained from his face when he saw us. "What are you doing here?" he stammered. "I came to say goodbye," Chloe said, every word icy. "Forever." Then, like a wound opening, she slapped him, hard, right across the cheek. Heads turned. Phones rose. Caleb's face burned as humiliation spread through him. "You're crazy," he hissed. "We're in an airport. You lied to me," she shrieked, pointing as if accusing the whole world. "You play gentleman on camera, but you're a monster." He clawed at the chaos, panic in his voice. "Stop, you're going to make me miss my flight." She laughed, a sound that cut. "Miss your flight?" she said. "You think you're going anywhere?" Then she pulled out her phone and went live. "Hello, everyone," she announced into the camera. "I'm Caleb Hayes' mistress." The crowd leaned in. "He doesn't just seduce women, he blackmails them. He's a fraud. A criminal." Caleb lunged for the phone, frantic and exposed, but the stream was already rolling. Around him, strangers watched the unraveling, and the world kept looking. "Get off me!" she screamed, twisting away as Caleb tried to grab her. But she didn't stop the stream. Her voice shook, but her words were sharp. "He keeps photos of his victims, uses them to threaten them." Then came the sound. Smack. Caleb struck her across the face. The world froze. And then, chaos. The live stream exploded with outrage. "He hit her!" "Oh my God, that's his real face." "Where's security?" Within seconds, guards were rushing in, tackling Caleb to the ground as he yelled, wild and desperate. "Let me go! I have a flight to catch." Chloe clutched her cheek, tears streaking through her makeup. Her voice trembled but carried through the terminal. "Did everyone see that? This is who he really is, a predator who preys on married women." The viewer count rocketed past 2 million. Caleb was finished. He lay there, broken under flashing cameras and the weight of his own downfall. "What more do you people want from me?" he cried. "I've already paid the price." And me? I just stood there, silent, watching. She was performing like her life depended on it. But it didn't matter. She could never earn back my forgiveness. I hadn't come for her redemption. I'd come to watch both of them burn. I turned away, her voice echoing behind me. "Landon, look, I did it. Will you forgive me now?" But I kept walking. I never said I would forgive her. I didn't want her love or her guilt, just their ruin. By nightfall, the airport video was everywhere. Caleb Hayes' assault trended for days. News anchors dissected every frame. Exclusive, former assistant exposes celebrity photographer's dark secrets. Inside the scandal, blackmail, revenge porn, extortion. Some reports were true, some weren't, but together they buried him completely. Later that night, my phone buzzed. Caleb had been arrested, extortion, blackmail, the works. I stood by the window of my hotel suite, whiskey in hand, the city lights burning below me. The drink stung, but not as sharply as the emptiness that followed revenge. Chloe's texts came in waves. "Landon, did you see?" "I did it for you. Please text me back." "Please forgive me." I didn't answer. Then Kevin called. "Landon," Caleb confessed. "He told the cops everything, including—" "I don't need to hear it," I said flatly. "It's over." After I hung up, I opened my laptop and drafted one final email to every major press contact in the city. A formal announcement: Landon and Chloe Sumar are officially divorced, citing infidelity. She leaves with nothing. Send. Then I deleted everything. Social media, contacts, memories. I packed a bag and booked the first flight out. Before I boarded, I sent Chloe a single message. "Goodbye. Take care of yourself." A year passed. I found peace in a small coastal town in Northern California. It was quiet, no paparazzi, no ghosts from my past. Just the ocean, the sound of the waves, and my little photo shop on Main Street. I took pictures for locals, passports, small weddings, Kids who still smiled with their whole faces. For a while, I thought maybe I'd finally escaped it all. Until one afternoon, the bell above my door chimed, and Kevin walked in. "Landon?" he said softly. "Just Landon," I replied, pouring coffee. "Took you long enough to find me. You didn't exactly leave a forwarding address." I smiled faintly. "What's on your mind?" He hesitated. "It's about Chloe." My hand froze. "What about her?" He exhaled, eyes heavy. "She killed Caleb Hayes." The cup slipped from my hand, shattering across the floor. He explained quietly how Caleb, sentenced to 3 years, had been beaten so badly in prison that he was released for medical care. How Chloe paid for that beating, how she visited him in the hospital, and how she brought a paring knife. She didn't even resist arrest, Kevin said. Just smiled and told the officers, "Finally, I got my revenge." I sat there in silence, staring at the floor. "I see," I finally said. "You can go now, Kevin." He looked at me, searching for something. "Aren't you going to see her?" "No," I said. "It's all over." When he left, I stayed there, alone in the dark shop. Memories drifted through like ghosts. The day I met her, our first date, our wedding. Every detail was still sharp, still alive, but that life wasn't mine anymore. I picked up my camera, turned it toward the window, and took a picture of my reflection. Click. The man in the frame looked calm. No sadness, no anger. Just done. 6 months later, I saw her face again, on page 5 of the local paper. Photographer's killer sentenced to 15 years. The photo beneath the headline was her mugshot. Gaunt, hollow, with a strange, peaceful smile. I stared for a long time, then folded the paper and dropped it into the trash. That chapter was finally, truly closed. I stepped outside, the sunlight warm on my skin. The ocean air tasted new. For the first time in years, I breathed deeply. It was a new day, and this time it was mine,